Hello moviegoers, this is your host, as always, El Movie Master. And today I want to talk about something a little bit different. Don't worry, I'm not going to get too off topic. It's not going to be about shaving or anything like that, it's still about movies. But I do want to ask a question before I get into the topic of today. Actually, I'm going to show you guys an object. And hopefully you guys will recognize what it is. Are you ready? Okay, here it goes. If you don't recognize what this is, perhaps you're too young. And that's okay. I'll tell you what it is. This right here is a VHS tape. This is part of my childhood, and I'm pretty sure it was a part of a lot of people's childhoods. This is a format that means a lot to me. And that's the title of today's video. Why VHS Matters. VHS came around in the late 70s. I was born in the late 80s. And VHS has a long history, more so than any other format that's been around. You know, today we take it for granted because we have so many other services that are far better in quality, far better in supplemental material, stuff like DVD, Blu-ray, and of course Netflix, Hulu, Redbox, all these VOD services which are extremely popular. And while these services are great, I have nothing against them, I use them myself, I feel they don't have the history nor the power that VHS still has today. Because VHS, while for many people is a dead format, it's still alive. It's had a resurgence over the past couple of years. VHS came around in the late 70s, and the last tape that was produced was in the year 2005, I believe. The last tape was A History of Violence. And that tells me that, come on, you know, it's a format's been around for 30 plus years, and there's people who are still buying tapes. There's people who are really big fans of lesser known horror movies, movies that still have not been released on DVD or Blu-ray, so it's still very, very popular. So why is it that people dismiss this format? They don't care about it anymore. I'm not talking about the hardcore collectors who still collect VHS tapes, but I'm talking about the people who normally don't care about it. People who just watch their streaming videos, people who watch stuff on YouTube or Netflix. Why don't you care about VHS tapes? Now, most people will say, well, for one, you know, the quality stinks, or they'll tell you, come on, you know, it's a really old format, you know, you can't watch any special features, you have to rewind it. They'll give you a whole bunch of different stuff. But here's what I think. While I'm not saying that DVD sucks or Blu-ray sucks or any of these things sucks, they don't. They're great formats. As you can see, I have a huge collection of DVD and Blu-rays, and I watch most of my content on DVD and Blu-ray, but I still have a strong connection to VHS. And the reason for that is, you can call it nostalgia, and it is nostalgia, but I'll give you a perfect example. This movie right here, Star Wars. I've owned these movies on DVD, and I have them on Blu-ray. I have the Blu-rays right here. And the Blu-rays look spectacular. They have 1080p HD picture quality, you know, DTS 5.1 surround sound, and has a whole bunch of special features that this tape doesn't have. Now, for most people who are fans of Star Wars, who have seen Star Wars since they were kids, you know, growing up in either the 80s or the 90s, you probably saw the original version of Star Wars. The version that was altered by George Lucas. That version's not here. No one can see it. So until 2015, you know, there's still no version of Star Wars on a digital format. Now, there is a version that was released a few years back, this limited edition, which brings, of course, the original Star Wars movies in widescreen, but they're letterboxed. They're not enhanced for widescreen. They are transferred from laser discs, so it's still an analog format. It's put on a digital disc, but it's still analog quality. So I never was a fan of Laserdisc, and I never could afford it when I was growing up. So I remember seeing Star Wars on tape. And I still watch it on tape every now and then to relive how I used to watch it as a kid. And of course, you know, you'll argue that why would you want to watch something that's cropped? Because the image on the VHS tape has been cropped to fit a 4:3 screen. You know, the original intention from the director, George Lucas, was to watch it widescreen. But of course, as anyone knows who's familiar with formatting, the right way of seeing it, of course, is widescreen. But TVs now, since 2006 until now, are in widescreen. For a long time, you did not have a widescreen TV. So I'm getting a little bit off topic, but what I wanted to show you guys is people have requested me to show my VHS collection. And I have a pretty decent collection. I don't have that many VHS tapes anymore. I've given up a lot of them because I've repurchased them on DVD. But I've kept some around. I kept movies that mean a lot to me, movies that I used to watch when I was a kid. So whenever I want to relive the way I used to watch it growing up, I pop in the VHS tape. And the funny thing about VHS tapes is that, you know, it has a history to it. You know, people have owned these tapes for years. So you're watching a tape that's been around for 20, 30 plus years and it's still working. I don't think DVD nor Blu-ray will have that longevity. We're still already seeing that now. You know, Blockbuster's closed. A lot of mom and pop shops that used to sell DVDs or rent DVDs have closed down. There's only a few around. FYE is close to bankruptcy. You know, so most people don't care about DVD as much anymore. And I'm not saying that VHS will become the next vinyl, but I think that VHS will have a much more street life, if that makes any sense, versus DVD and Blu-ray. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the stuff that I have. I'm not going to share too much, but first I'm going to start with some of the stuff that I used to watch growing up. One movie that I used to watch hundreds of times, and I still do, is Superman, the movie, and Superman 2. Now, these are not the exact tapes I owned. I remember having a really, I had a clamshell of this movie growing up, and I used to watch this movie all the time. And while I have these movies on Blu-ray, and I watch them on Blu-ray, I have them somewhere around here. Here they are. You know, I watch them on Blu-ray, and of course the Blu-rays look spectacular. I feel it's, you know, it's not the same movie I grew up watching. You know, I feel like, you know, yes, the story's the same, nothing has been altered, but something about the picture quality, that, you know, the sound of the VCR, call me crazy, but the little lines in the tape, you know, it just has a certain history to it, and it's crazy, I know, but I identify with that. So I used to watch both of these movies all the time. And part 2, I remember I had a copy of it. It wasn't an original copy. I remember back when I was growing up, VHS tapes used to be expensive. Now you can find these for 50 cents at a Goodwill or a Salvation Army. But when I was growing up, if you wanted one of these Superman movies, they were 20 bucks and up. So just for one tape. So I remember this lady had a lot of movies, particularly Disney movies, but I really wanted Superman 2. I hadn't seen Superman 2, so she made me a copy, and it was a direct copy from the VHS tape. That was a popular thing back in the day. Before you had, you know, YouTube and all these other things where you can share videos, you know, you would tape movies or tape commercials and stuff, funny things, and you would share amongst friends. That was the social media thing back in the day, for some people, I guess. But that was the way I used to watch them, and to this day I still, every now and then, pop in Superman 1 and 2, and I'm fine with it. You know, they're how I remember them. So, other movies that I also remember watching were the Universal Monster movies. This is not the exact one I used to own. Again, I did the dumb thing of getting rid of a lot of my movies once I got a DVD. You know, I started getting rid of a lot of tapes and buying them on DVD. And while I have these on DVD, this one is one of my favorite of the Universal Monster movies. It's actually the first one I saw, The Wolfman. And I saw this when I was like 10, 11, and I really wanted all the other Universal Monster movies. And again, the price was expensive back then. It wasn't the same as it is today to find something for so cheap. And we take it for granted. So, another one, hold on, Night of the Living Dead, Halloween. Great classics. I remember I had this teacher, I'm not going to name the person, but she used to give tapes to kids in class. She would, this is illegal, but you would give her $5, and she had a bag full of movies, and you would pretty much for a whole year, it was like a Netflix kind of thing. You would give her $5 and she would let you borrow as many movies as you wanted. And most people borrowed the most typical new release movies at the time. This was about 15 years ago. It was a long time ago. But I remember I wanted to watch Halloween and Night of the Living Dead, and she had them. I think they were taped from TV. Yeah, they were taped from TV. But I didn't care, you know. Back then, they would rarely, if ever, show Halloween or Night of the Living Dead. Many years later, you had, you know, all these, you know, AMC horror movie nights where they would actually show you the movie, but rarely, if ever, would they show the original Halloween or Night of the Living Dead. So I used to watch them all the time, and I have, you know, Halloween on Blu-ray. I have Night of the Living Dead on commemorative DVD edition. I have several versions of Night of the Living Dead. If you see my review on Night of the Living Dead, I show you all the versions I have. And, you know, I still prefer this one. For some odd reason, you know, it looks grainy, it looks like shit. But that's how I saw it. And I like it. You know, it's something crazy, you know. Sometimes I don't need to see something so crisp. You know, sure, the first time I saw the James Bond movies, for example, on Blu-ray, I was mesmerized. But every time when I put a VHS in, I get this, you know, this feeling, you know, a hurt in the feels, you know, where you feel like, damn, this is how I used to watch this movie growing up. And speaking of James Bond, I know I am rambling here, but this is something that I'm pretty sure a lot of people feel this way. Maybe, kind of. This is one of the VHS tapes. Now, this one is actually the one I used to own when I was growing up. This GoldenEye tape, I remember, I got $20 for my birthday back like in 1997, 98, I think, and I really wanted to see GoldenEye. And I remember playing the game, the Nintendo 64 game, and I really wanted to see the movie. So I recall in a flea market they were selling a whole bunch of VHS tapes. This was around the time when DVD was starting to get a launch. You know, people were buying it, kind of. I think DVD became very popular like in the early 2000s, late 90s. But around 97, 98, when it first launched, it wasn't that popular. But there were people selling off their tapes at flea markets. And, you know, GoldenEye was there, and I think Back to the Future 3, which I didn't own at the time, those two tapes became my favorites for that year. And I would play them on repeat and repeat. And whenever I watched this tape, it still has the lines of, unfortunately, my VCR at the time partially ate this tape. So whenever I get to the scene where Bond kicks out Trevelyan, and before he falls from the satellite, there's like a little line in between, you know, kind of fuzziness because the VCR ate it. So that's a bad thing, of course, but it reminds me of every time I will get frustrated watching the tape. So that's GoldenEye, my special edition on VHS. And I also had The World's Not Enough. I remember getting this for my birthday on, it was $19.99. I got it as a present. And again, I used to watch this all the time. And actually, this is one of the first tapes where I had a couple of special features. Like, at the time, I was like, special features, what's that? And it had like a tribute to Q, who had passed away that year, and a music video of the movie. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I'm not going to talk too much about the rest of the tapes, but I'm just going to show you some things I used to watch as a kid. You know, Jungle Book, Land Before Time, A Christmas Story. Love A Christmas Story. And this is the, again, I used to watch the tape. And I have the DVD, and I see myself watching the tape more. I don't know what it is. Now, I was mentioning earlier that VHS has had a resurgence. There's people who are starting to collect more. There was 2 documentaries that came out. One is called Adjust Your Tracking, and the other one's called Rewind This. They're basically about the same thing. People who are into collecting movies, particularly horror movies, you know, older horror movies, lesser known movies that, you know, went under the radar. And those documentaries were pretty interesting, you know, they really showed, you know, how VHS has had a long history, how it still has a certain thing to it. You know, people are attracted to tape, and there's been movies that have been released even now for horror fans, for fans who like to collecting tapes. One of them, which I actually purchased, was this special edition VHS thing called The Basement. Now, when you open this, this is replicating how VHS tapes used to look. Back like in the, I would assume, like the early 80s, video stores wanted to show you the best looking titles. The idea was to sell. This is before you could rent a movie. So they would just, they were copying actually the porno guys, the guys who would, sell porn tapes. So they did an oversized tape with a really cool looking horror cover and a really vague synopsis. The idea was to sell you the tape. $100+ for a tape. That was the price. So you would look at the tape, it's like, wow, this looks amazing. Girl's getting her blouse ripped off, whatever, and her side boobs there, I gotta get this. And people would buy it. That was the marketing tactic. And believe it or not, people still fall for it today. You look at a pretty cool hardcover, and the movie's probably shit, and you fall for it. So that's what they did. But the thing is that back then, there wasn't as many movies as there are today. Now you have way too many movies. You have thousands and thousands of movies. And at the time, they were trying to get people to buy something, buy a movie. Because at the time, it was something very unknown. It was not, no one really cared about buying movies. Because it was just, you go to the movie theater, watch the movie, that was it. And then when you had the idea, of actually owning the movie, being able to rewatch it, that was a cool idea. So they had these things. Keep in mind, I wasn't around when this. But by the time I was, in my preteens, tapes were already in the regular size. So most of this is just research that I've, found online. So this tape, you open it up, comes like this, and it brings a DVD version of the same movie. It brings you stuff like Video Violence, which I've watched. It's a pretty bizarre movie. The Basement, another bizarre movie. Video Violence 2, which I haven't seen. And Cannibal Campout. So you open it up, it has a couple of DVDs inside. But the coolest thing about this thing is the red VHS tape. Kind of blood red. So that's for the fans who are now getting into collecting, which I find it really cool. People are getting a love for tape. It's sad to see that a lot of tapes either end up in piles of trash. No one, cares about them anymore. And it is what it is. And I'm going to show you guys how the original tapes used to look like. The oversized ones, that is. These look something like this. Now, this is a re-release through Wizard Home Video. Wizard Video was a pioneer of releasing a lot of lesser-known European crazy horror movies that no one heard of, but they became really popular. So this is how it used to look. There's been some people who are saying that these are not the original tapes from the 1980s. I'm not sure, but I purchased a few of these, not too many because they were a little too expensive, but they look nice. The movies are horrible. Don't even tell me what they're about because most of them are just really terrible, but they look nice. You open it up. I love the attention to the detail. You have your clamshell inside and the movies inside. So I showed this to someone and they were like, is this a collection of horror movies? No, it's just one movie. One movie tape and that's it. You had some titles that were just crazy, like The Possessor. I actually watched this one. This is supposed to be a knockoff of The Exorcist, and it's the exact same thing, but just really, really bad. So it kind of reminds me of now all these, companies like the Asylum, they'll make a knockoff version of a movie like, I don't know, Transformers. The other version is going to be Transmorphers. So this is around for a long time, these people who just like to make knockoffs of the original movies. But anyway, it's cool to have these things. And it brings me into the topic of people asking me to show my VHS collection. I'm going to be sharing my entire VHS collection, hopefully sometime next week. Hopefully next week if I have the time. I don't have that many rare tapes. Most of the tapes that I have a few lesser known ones, but most of them are stuff that I found in Goodwill, flea markets, a lot of flea markets. And some of them I find in closed libraries that have closed down. And some few ones I get them on eBay. I don't like buying tapes online or in these, horror communities because they overpriced them. Like I paid, actually, no lie, I paid $50 for this. And I only have like a couple of them. I don't have that many of these. And they're nice to collect, but I don't like paying more than $1 for a tape. I paid $50 for these two because I wanted to have a really nice tapes, in my collection just to show off. But the truth of the matter is, if you go online, some of the original ones are selling for like $75, $100, and that's just insane. I just rather just look through a Goodwill, I find a tape, and pay $1 for it, and that's the way to go. So yeah, I just wanted to share why VHS matters. For people who grew up with the format, if you feel, you want to watch, I don't know, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, just as you remembered it as a kid, find a VHS tape, and I'm pretty sure you're going to feel a connection to what you used to watch. I watched Star Wars more on VHS than on Blu-ray, and I enjoy it more. I don't know what it is. Like I said, it's more than anything, it's nostalgia. It's kind of like the people who collect vinyl. You listen to a vinyl and you say, it sounds better than the CD. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not an audiophile, but it's probably just nostalgia. You just feel that older things sound better. But I do agree, a vinyl does sound better. But, it's the thing that is that, whatever... I'm not trying to bash Netflix or any of these services. I use them. Netflix is great. Hulu is great. All these things are good. It's a great way to watch TV shows, because back in the day, if you wanted to watch a TV show, you had to buy 14 VHS tapes just to watch a mid-season of X-Files, which is insane. Now you can just watch it on Netflix, and you just pay $7, $8 a month, and that's great. It's awesome. I'm just talking about having a format that you can watch and connect with your inner child. You were a kid, just eating popcorn on a Saturday night, just watching a movie. It's something. It's crazy. And it's sad that there's not many stores around that still have VHS tapes. Actually, there's none around in my area. The last one closed down about 2 years ago, and it was sad to see it close. Most people don't care. It's not something that's a big deal for them. But for collectors who like watching movies on tape, they'll know what I'm talking about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can call it a bantering, rambling, whatever it is. But it's me speaking from the heart for fans who love VHS, who love the format. And if you haven't seen those documentaries, do check them out. It's Adjust Your Tracking and Rewind This. I'll leave the 2 links to the trailers on the description down below. And stay tuned. Next week, hopefully next week, I'll be showing you guys my entire VHS collection. As I said, I don't have that many tapes, but I have a few that you might enjoy looking at. So until next time, and thank you.